Everyone. Once again, this is David Boker. Welcome to the third in our series of Engineering Your Decision. Yes, do you know what time it is? It's almost decision time. So we're here to hopefully help you with assessing all the different stuff that I know many of you have probably visited, been online, done a variety of things, but eventually you really got to make that choice. And you're bright, you're smart, you're compassionate students. You can be successful at lots of places. So it's really just kind of coming down to that fit and finance. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that. Once again, I'm joined by Lori Pence. So hey, Lori, how's it going?
Fine, David. How are you?
I'm doing good. Good to see you. And once again, one of our awesome students, freshman Maeve Haggerty from Pennsylvania. Hello.
Hello.
Good to see you again.
Good to see you.
So we're just going to chat a little bit here and hopefully hit on some things again that you find helpful. Let's start with, I mentioned decision time, right? So Maeve, did you have an aha moment? I mean, you mentioned Purdue wasn't even on your list until late. What was it that kind of came down to you going Purdue?
It was definitely my campus tour. So sort of stepping on this campus, it was a different feel from the other campuses I had been on. I remember running into a lot of people there, and sort of just stopping and talking to students or just people on the campus, since I know there weren't too many students out and about. So I spoke to graduates. I think maybe they were grad students, but I think they'd gotten their undergrads at Purdue, and they were a married couple. They had a little puppy, and they were telling me about how they met at Purdue and how it was this great school, and sort of that realization that all these people were so willing to have a conversation with me. Everyone I ran into wanted to talk to me and wanted to tell me about Purdue. Sort of opened my eyes to see, like, those are the type of people here, the people who want to help, who want to encourage me on my experiences, on my journey. And so that tour, I remember my mom turned to me and she went, "I can actually see you here, Maeve." And she's never said anything like that. So
Super cool.
having that encouragement from someone else, seeing someone can see me here, that was definitely a big moment for me. But once I received my decision, I was more excited about getting that decision than any other school. I remember I told myself that day I would block off that day and go on like a solo trip, like 30 minutes away, just to clear my brain. But it ended up coming out before I went on my trip. So it was an exciting little surprise. And receiving that scholarship, it was very unexpected. So everything just felt different with Purdue, and where other schools were exciting to receive those applications, as they should be. But something about Purdue really just drew me in more than other schools.
And that's awesome. And listen to those feelings,
Yes.
as you're getting more excited of one over the other, and kind of feeling that, knowing that you've got to look at both the financial side and other things. Lori, we know you have a kiddo going through this right now. What kind of conversations are you having with him to make this decision?
Well, we kind of started early on in the process when we were looking at schools for him to visit and apply to, that we had a really family conversation about what we could afford and what was available in scholarships. And that really drove those decisions rather than apply to schools. And if you got admitted to those schools and we can't afford for him to go to those schools. So we just had a really, really frank conversation about what we could afford as a family for him to go to college, and also talk about, loan indebtedness, how much loan indebtedness he wants to get into for his undergrad, because right now he's planning on going to dental school. So, and that's going to be expensive. And so teaching him about decisions and choices and affordability, but also I have preached to him and all of his friends that fit is really on the students, and visiting campuses and walking the campus. It just that's all on the student, because it's a feeling, as Maeve talked about, and I've heard about that so much. And them visualizing themselves there. And finance typically comes on, the parents and the family's shoulder. But I think having just honest conversations about what the family can afford, because obviously we want students and families to fall in love with Purdue, and we want students to come here. But if it is not affordable for families, then that could be a really significant stressor for students, which could impact their academic ability once they get here. So while we would love everyone to come to Purdue, affordability and that finance really is a significant element and component, and everyone just needs to be on the same page. That's what I would really stress and suggest.
Yeah, and there's lots. You've been admitted to Purdue. You can be successful at so many places, and so really trying to meld those two things together. And then once you make that decision, own that decision. Wherever you end up going to school,
Definitely.
right? Go all in.
Yeah.
Right? Because then it's like, this is where I said I wanted to be. This is what I want to do, regardless of how that ends up working out. How you get to that decision, you just got to go for it and take advantage of all the unbelievable resources and the opportunities wherever you might end up going. How can, with that transition, I guess, how can families start to kind of prepare for kind of that shift into, I'm not in high school anymore, summer, getting ready for college? What are some tips that y'all might give them?
Well, I can give that from a perspective of a parent, and also being in my position for a long period of time, is again having the conversation. I'm big on communication, but I think it really helps prevent issues down the road. But having that conversation before the student leaves for college regarding expectations on communication, like how frequent one is going to be speaking, and should you wait for them to reach out? Just what are the expectations, how often? And something that I learned with my daughter, my oldest, is I was so used to fixing all of her problems. So when she would call me, I would say, well, you need to do this, and I was in fix mode. But then she reminded me that sometimes she just needs to vent and doesn't need me to fix everything. And so now, it has also taught me with my son, but when they call me or talk to me about something, I ask them, do you want me to listen? Are you needing to vent? Do you want my opinion? Do you want me to help? What is it that you're needing from me? And then that helps me guide them in the next steps. So just, it's a huge transition to, oftentimes we talk so much about the student transition, which there's going to be a lot for them, but there's a lot for family. And I know I'm going to be going through a significant transition because now it's my baby. It's my last one that's leaving the house. And so I'm going to be going through my own transition, and everyone just needs to be respectful of each other's transitions, understanding that there are going to be some hiccups and bumps in the road. But as long as everyone is open and honest, and again, everyone is clear on expectations, I think that really sets up the students and families for navigating that their relationship. But if students have a really good support system, with students here but family back at home, that really aids in their ability to be happy and thrive and success in the classroom.
Yeah, I'm the youngest of 5, so my mom sort of had that. She had that moment of like the last. What is it? Leaving the last bird in the nest. What's
Leaving
the
the
Yeah,
nest.
empty nest
Empty
syndrome.
nester. Yes, thank
Empty
you.
nester.
Thank you. That's the phrase. And so I remember her saying some things, but I was never really. I didn't put into my perspective how my parents might feel since they've been through it now 5 times, I thought it would be an easy transition. But I know when I call my parents, they have this relief and this joy in their voices, and I can feel that. So I think reaching out as a student as much as possible is very important. It's very helpful for the family, especially if you have little siblings at home. That is definitely something that is worth reaching out to all the time. Keeping that conversation, again, communication is really big. So yeah, it's sort of, even when you want to reach out randomly, I think that kind of lights someone up a little bit. That's how I feel when someone reaches out randomly. It's sort of just
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'd love to hear your voice. Even siblings. So that was a good one. That they go through their own transition. So when you have younger siblings at home, they're missing you as well. So
Is there something, Maeve, that you or your family wish you could have done a little bit different over the summer building into starting? Or a tip that really ended up being helpful for your first semester in getting ready for college? Is there?
Oh, definitely a packing list. It seems like pretty general, but having a list to pack and getting it ahead of time is definitely important because you do not want to be behind on that. You do not want to be behind.
So let's talk about, so you're here. Yay, you're still here. So
Yeah.
so how is it? I mean, you went through this whole process of trying to figure out where I wanted to go and the right place, knowing not any university is probably going to be perfect, magical, everything.
Right.
So talk about the first year. How has it been?
It's been great. I've loved it here. Definitely, my favorite thing about it is the academic rigor. I do love being challenged, and I found that here it's not too much. I was stressing about having too much work and being caught up and not having any social life and things like this and etc. But it's been a great balance of like social and academics. So I found myself being even more studious and more prepared and organized here than I ever did in high school. I think there was just so many more distractions back at home, and just being here and having your set courses and things like this and needing to stay on top of things has made me even more productive. And the social aspects are great. There are so many opportunities to get involved. I've made some of my best friends in my dorm, like hall and floor, and through organizations, through friends of friends, going to the games. It's definitely very easy to make friends here.
What organizations? What things have you done?
So I'm heavily involved in PSEF, which is the Purdue Student Engineering Foundation. It's pretty much where we give tours for prospective students and families. So the tours that you would be going on, or you would have gone on, for the engineering school specifically, that's what we guide. And we also plan events within the organization as well as outside of the organization. We do pancakes with PSEF. So we make pancakes in Armstrong Hall and hand
They're
those
free,
out.
aren't they?
Free.
Yeah.
They're free.
A lot of free food in college.
That's very true. I've never heard a more true statement. I'm also involved in Mentors and Mentees, which is the Women in Engineering program, the learning community. So I have a mentor. So she's a sophomore. She's told me a lot about research and about internships and a lot of those opportunities, TAing, teacher assisting. So that's been a great experience. And then for one of the more social and fun aspects, I'm part of PPC, which is Purdue Performance Collaborative. It's pretty much just a student-led theater group. So it's a great way to meet some like-minded people. Just get involved.
What do you do? What kind of theater? Is it?
We have shows. We do put on shows. I found that a lot of students do those shows. There's a few engineering students as well, but I haven't been in one of the shows, but I've been to all the meetings.
Here on campus, or
almost
are
all.
they like where?
Yeah.
Okay.
They perform.
There's so many
in
things
Matthew.
here.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, there's a ton of different shows. I think they do 2 or 3 each year. So if you want to be involved with theater or anything, club sports. I was on the intramural volleyball team as part of PSEF, and it was so much fun. It was once a week, not super committed, and I think that was like the perfect amount of like a physical activity, but also just a fun way to make some friends.
Lori, you, I know, mentor and meet with multiple students. What tips do you have for the freshmen coming in, them here taking their courses? Who's the most successful? What do you see? What trends in behavior or tips could you give, so that freshmen, we know it's a transition. We talked about that. It's going to hit you a little bit in the face no matter what because it's so new. But what are things that they can do that freshman year to be successful?
Well, Maeve kind of really hit on several of them, and one is time management, and you've got to have a system. Students have to adjust from being in school for 6, 7 straight hours to having more time in between classes, but yet they're spending more time studying outside of classes. So if you didn't have a time management system in high school, you're going to need one in college. So that could be a planner, could be a Purdue mortarboard, which is our version of a planner. That's more of a paper.
I love mine.
I
Saves my
love-
life.
Yes, they're great because they also have the Purdue academic calendar with all the important deadline dates, like
Vacations.
yes, spring
Yes.
break, October break. But a lot of students like electronic, and they have elaborate spreadsheets that are color coded, and each block is every hour.
I have both.
Yes, and some want both. And there are time management apps on your phone. So there's so many different options that you just kind of have to fit what's best for you. And that leads me into study skills. Some students didn't have to study at all in high school. And so they're going to have to ask questions, ask for help, and because they're going to need to study when they come to Purdue or whatever college you go to. So that will be an adjustment. And for some students, it can be a little bit embarrassing saying, I don't know how to study. But there's plenty of you. But there's great resources here. Having a mentor would also provide you some really good resources on where to start. For those that did have to study in high school, you're going to need to modify what you did in high school to kind of elevate it for college. So those are the two significant levers that I see students have to kind of adjust to when they get here. It's a little bit of trial and error, but just knowing that that's what your first semester is going to be about, and there's plenty of staff and advisors and faculty and people here that want to see you succeed, and it's our job to kind of help you in that.
Maeve, speaking of sort of making decisions to transition in, did you know civil coming in? Or were you leaning towards that because you're getting ready to transition to your
Right.
major? As I had mentioned, all freshmen start in first year.
Mm-hmm.
So has it been worth it to do a first year program?
Oh, yes, definitely.
And why is that? And maybe a couple things that you've kind of done that have been helpful with that.
Right. So I did a lot of research into what sort of engineering I wanted to do, since I knew that was a big part, and I knew I did have to figure that out. And by a lot of school standards, you would have to figure it out by sophomore year. And so knowing that I had to do that coming in, I did my research senior year, and I sort of decided on civil as I was applying, but it was still in the back of my head. I'm not sure. Like, I do want to learn more. I'm flexible. I'm just ready to learn. And then getting here through the first year program, there's so much career exploration and so many resources. We have EYMs, which are engineering your major. We're required to go to them, but you can also go to other ones that you are just interested in. And attending that civil one only reinforced my ideas that I already had. And when I attended other ones, I think, mechanical and environmental and ecological, and both of those were very interesting as well.
And that's like talking to faculty and students,
Yeah.
and they kind of talk about their school.
Current
and
students,
Yeah.
alumni, yeah.
all that sort of thing.
Mhm.
So yeah, so you've been glad that you've had opportunity to explore and not dive straight into a major
Definitely.
within that.
Yeah, and I think that adds to the student success. I know in talking with students and families, that's one of the things that makes Purdue very unique is that they don't have to declare a major at age 17 or 18 because that can be really stressful and very pressured. And so just giving that latitude to students to come in here and explore. And as Maeve said, she came in open-minded, willing to learn. And I think that's really what all students should do, even though if you might like, I definitely want aero or I definitely want mechanical, because about 50% of our students do change their mind from what they expressed as an educational goal on the application. And really keeping an open mind and willing to learn, that's really what we want you to be doing about everything when you come to Purdue, just not about what you want to specialize in or major in.
Yeah, it's kind of how we roll.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's
So
great.
here-
So Maeve's on her way for student success.
Yeah. So if you had to, pick a favorite Purdue moment so far, or, what might that be? Or if you want to share a last tip for students as they're making that decision, I'll open that up to both of you. Kind of, this is our final episode. We hope we will see you on campus soon. But what do you think? What would you like to share?
I'm sort of between two, but I'll just give them both quickly, since they both have a good amount of meaning to me. But one is definitely the parents' weekend football game. I just remember that game so well. I met some of my closest friends there through friends, and if you watch the games, sometimes they lift students up in the air, and I got to be one of those students at one point.
Was it for the number of touchdowns?
Yes,
were
it
you
was
really?
about 40 something.
Oh my gosh!
So it was exciting, and I think just meeting people at those games is it's a big thing. You wouldn't think you meet people at a football game, but I've met some of my closest friends at those games through their friends, and the tailgates, and there's so much there in that student culture. And then my other moment is probably the fountain run, which you guys would learn about if you decide to do BGR, which is the orientation program, Boiler Gold Rush. And I just distinctly remember running through those fountains and laughing so hard with my friends. And I'm still friends with some of those people now.
Will you do one when you graduate?
A fountain run?
Yeah.
Oh, definitely.
Probably a few in between too.
Yeah, I'll do it every year if
Yeah.
I have to.
I did one in full tuxedo because I was in the Glee Club
Oh
a
my
long
gosh.
time ago. And we, after our end of season concert, literally ran through. I didn't do all the full. Back then, we didn't have all the fountains. Like we weren't as,
Just
we
a
didn't
half
have the
marathon.
energy you all have now. It was one fountain.
Okay.
But it was awesome. Plus, that tuxedo probably needed it after 100 shows. So yeah, fountain run is a cool tradition. So, and how about for you, Lori? Any tips or a moment, or what would you like to?
I've had a lot of moments since I've been in higher ed for 27 years and over 20 years at Purdue. But they all center around students. And I'll talk about one particular student that you and I both know. And I'm not going to say this particular name, but he was recruited from California. And the family you had met them.
Mm-hmm.
And they were concerned about affordability.
Yep.
Purdue was the number one choice. They really wanted their son to come here, but they were really concerned about the finances. And so we worked collectively together. And I provided them some information and gave them some guidance. And he's done exceptionally well. He's participated in the co-op program, the 3-rotation co-op program. And he's going to be graduating next month in
Already?
May. Yes. 5 years has gone
Jeez.
quickly because he participated in the co-op, but he solidified a position in September during Industrial Roundtable. His parents, I met with them for coffee at Starbucks when they dropped him off, and I'm going to actually be meeting with them for dinner before he graduates.
That's
so it's
awesome.
just really a bookend. And so I did some academic coaching with him, and just seeing him develop and just having this relationship with him, but also his family. And, I think that just really speaks to you in OFE, and the visits that we do around this country, talking about Purdue, about College of Engineering, and just how impactful this place can be. But it really comes down to relationships that I think we're really good with. And, Maeve alluded to that in her episode 1 about when she came for her campus tour. And there were so many friendly people that she interacted with that really talked about Purdue and how it's, what it's like to be here and be a student. But that's, so important is those relationships that are built between either faculty and students, advising and students, peers, is those are the things that you're going to remember about Purdue that are going to be everlasting.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that too. It's
Yes.
so good to hear about that, and that Midwest Purdue friendliness is real thing, and I think we hear that over and over again with people that visit us. So awesome. So with that, we wish you well. For those who have already decided, good luck. If it's Purdue, boiler up, of course, but wherever you end up, as I said, go full in. And we wish you well at whatever university. If up to the point of good old May 1st, you continue to have questions, don't ever hesitate. If there's something that concerning or just something you want to clarify, feel free to email us at Future Engineers. We can put you in touch with other Purdue Student Engineering Foundation students if you want to talk to students in a certain major. We've got other staff and Lori and just a variety of people that are here for you. So we wish you the very best in your decision. And we look forward to hopefully seeing a whole bunch of y'all coming in the fall. So have a great one. And last time out, boiler up.